Happy to have you aboard here for the Really Big Barbecue Show.
Boing. We cook because we have to, and we grill because we want to.
Hit me.
Fine, how's it going?
You have a great show. I'm a big fan.
Boing.
So what seems to be the problem here? This man looks like he's dead, and he's in the crackle.
Sean Bono. It's all about the Sean Bono, dude.
Succulent fish. What?
He ate 54 wieners.
Now listen, Libertius, shut your face.
I'm shaking like a dog shit peach seeds.
We have top men working on it right now. Top men.
All right, welcome back to the Barbecue Central Show, live on a Tuesday night. My name is Steve Ray, and I am hosting the show. Let me turn this off. For Greg Rempe, who is traveling back to Cleveland after a little family outing, and safe travels to Greg. I want to appreciate everybody joining us. You can follow me on Instagram, Owl's Nest Barbecue, on Facebook, Owl's Nest Barbecue, and let's see, did I say Instagram, Owl's Nest Barbecue, Facebook, and that's about it. Owl's Nest Barbecue on all the social media. Give me a hit up. I'd appreciate that very much if you would do that. I own a service station in Ooltewah, Tennessee, a real old-fashioned mom and pop service station. Next door to my service station, I've got a barbecue supply store, the Owl's Nest Barbecue Supply. The reason we call it Owl's Nest, because Ooltewah is an old Indian word. It means resting owl, hence the name Owl's Nest. And I just want to give a shout out to my friend David Bosca. We highlight David's rubs and sauces at our barbecue supply store, and we're getting a few more in for a nice little selection. But David has been our number one supplier now for almost a year that we've been in this. And folks, I'm going to tell you, if you've got a supply store, if you've got a section of your mom and pop grocery store or whatever, you owe it to yourself to give David a call, Butcher Barbecue, or hit him up online or on his webpage, and buy some of his products, and you'll sell them. They sell fantastic. People love him. He's got, what I like about David's, he's got an enormous amount of products, and it's kind of a one-stop shop. You know, he's got injectors that he gives you for free when you buy the injection. He sends you your injectors free. He has the bottles that you can mix the injection. You can buy from him. You can even buy twine. You can buy knives from David. He's kind of a real neat stop for the barbecue supply business. And, you know, it's nice to be able to hit that one web page and order everything that you want. And the thing is, you can do it too if you're just into competition barbecue, butcherbarbecue.com. You know, David's rubs won a little tournament, a little barbecue tournament last October called the Jack Daniel's World Championship. And his grilling addiction rub was on every piece of meat that he turned in, and he walked away with the win at the Jack Daniel's. So he is a reigning world champion barbecuer right now. And you can buy the exact same rubs and the exact same sauces that David used to win the Jack Daniel's. Just simply go to butcherbarbecue.com, and you will be able to find everything you need from David Bosca. He's a great guy, very, very reasonable on the shipping. I think I ordered a huge order here last week. I got it in 3 days. 3 days, the FedEx guy comes whipping in with my product. And it was a good thing too, because I was just about out of some things. Butcherbarbecue.com, David Bosca. He's my guy at my store. He sponsors this show. He's been sponsoring this show forever, and he's just a great guy to do business with, and you'll enjoy doing business with David Bosca. Let me tell you real quick. Let's go to the. Let's see here. We're going to go to this real quick. This little ad. Where did I put that? There it is, right there. And then we're going to go to the Embedded Correspondents. This segment brought to you by Fireboard. Monitor up to 6 different temperatures simultaneously connect to Wi-Fi for cloud-based monitoring, or connect via Bluetooth. And if you have Alexa or Google Assistant in your home, you're in luck because Fireboard is fully integrated with both. Find out more by visiting fireboard.com or simply call 816-945-2232 today. Fireboard for your grill. Coming up next, the Embedded Correspondents live here on the Barbecue Central Show. We'll be right back. All right, here they are, the Embedded Correspondents. Hang on just a second, fellas. Let me move this out of Doug's face so I don't have to listen to that in the morning. All right, there he is. David Huff from Oklahoma. John Solberg from Michigan. And the longest running Embedded Correspondent in Barbecue Central Show history, my personal hero, Doug Scheiding. What's up, fellas? Good afternoon.
What's up, Steve-O?
Oh, doing
How you
great.
doing, man?
Having a big time. Did you see Leanne Whippen?
Yes.
Is she
Great
not
interview.
What about Matt Frampton, the pizza guy? And member of the Hot Grill on Grill Action barbecue team.
I wish you would have
his
nerded
stuff.
out a little bit
Yeah.
on the yeast stuff. I'm okay with that.
I thought while he was talking about that, I said, am I the only one that doesn't know how yeast works? But I've never cooked. Did you?
Yeah, I
did
think you are,
guys know?
Steve. I think it's. I think it's like honestly, it's like if you lived almost 60 years, what you have, and you don't know how yeast works, you need to read a book.
and he apparently keeps his in a cupboard somewhere in a box that has to be guarded, and so this thing doesn't start crawling out. But Doug Scheiding from Texas, John Solberg from Michigan, David Huff from Oklahoma, and I'm Steve Ray from Tennessee, and together we are the Embedded Correspondents. Folks, guys, let's get this party started. You know, we've had another change in management at KCBS, and I'm not going to turn this into a KCBS bashing, but we're gonna talk about their challenges, and we're going to talk about some solutions that they might have. And first, Doug, let's start with you from Texas, Doug, because I know you're heavily involved in the Texas sanctioning body IBCA, and you're also a life member, as I am, of KCBS. Emily Duntweiler is the person's name that is now the new, I guess, the chief operating officer or executive officer. And what is your take on the KCBS state of affairs right now?
Well, I'm actually a life member of 3 organizations, KCBS being one, IBCA, and Lone Star Barbecue Society. So I'm certainly committed to barbecue. You know, in terms of Emily, I'm actually glad that they've hired a non-kind of competition type person. I think that is better for the organization. Maybe, will think a little broader than someone that is, comes from a competition or judging background. So I think she's a good hire. She's got a hell of a challenge, I think, in front of her. If we go through some of the problems, financial being one of them, the purchase of that building seemed to be a huge mistake. I went and looked at, I was just curious. So I pulled up their Form 990, which is, the nonprofits, if they make over 50,000, have to file these abbreviated tax returns that you can pull up. So in the one for 2018 wasn't available, but the one for 2016, which I think is the year they bought the building, they lost 10,000 on revenue of about 1.6 million. In 2017, they lost 133,000 on revenue of about 1.7 million. A lot of that loss was attributed to the rent factor or occupancy factor almost doubled for them, up to about 322,000. So I'll be interested to see how 2018 fares out for them. So I think they, I've heard they had a loss of members. When I did read some of the the minutes from the board and things like that, they've got problems. People talk about the problems with judging. IBCA has problems with judging. So and then they certainly have problems with contests. And not to mention their showcase, the American Royal. Last year they only had 425 teams. I wonder how many they're going to have this year. So if we have a side bet on that, I'll be glad to join in on that. But I think in terms of the new versus experienced judges, I think that needs to be ironed out from a judging standpoint. Now, in terms of solutions, what in the hell can they do? I think this is true of all organizations, they need to make all contestants at least members for a day or members for a weekend. Yeah. You need to be members of the organization, I think, to cook in a sanctioned event from whether it's KCBS. Maybe that'll bring in a little bit more revenue. I think they need to buy and take over NBBQA. NBBQA has a foundation to really grow and expand the breadth of barbecue and education, et cetera. It's just poorly implemented, as as I've seen the last couple of years. So I'd like to see them take over NBBQA from a management standpoint, and maybe they need to merge with a state cook-off association to help the leakage or dwindling contest number of attendees, et cetera. Because I see a lot of the competition people, or at least some, going over to state cook-offs rather than hauling their rigs out on a Thursday, Friday, and they could just show up on Saturday and do their thing. So those would be three kind of out-of-the-box type scenarios that I could see to help their issues.
We'll get back to some of those. John Solberg, what's your take?
Well, I'm no longer a member of KCBS, but I'm really glad to see Emily Detweiler take this role. I think coming from a marketing background, I think that's really what they need right now. I don't really understand their current marketing commitment that they have, that they're involved in, but she has a good oversight to move them forward in some direction, I believe. So I'm really excited to see that happen. As far as some of the things that Doug mentioned, Doug, you got to admit those are some big challenges, trying to merge with NBBQA and take those on. That's great forward thinking. But they got to patch up the holes in the ship right now. And I think that Emily's absolutely the right person in that spot. I'm even reconsidering going back. And I do agree with Doug that if you're going to compete in a competition, you need to be a member of that sanctioning body.
David Huff from Oklahoma.
Yeah, I echo what my fellow correspondents have said. I think Emily's the right person for that job. Marketing and advertising background. The number one thing I learned when I went to the University of Tulsa, marketing, I don't remember a lot, too much partying, but I can tell you that they taught you have to know your customer. You have to know your audience. And I think Emily's going to get that. She's going to want to be in tune with the competition teams, the general public. I think their biggest issue, I've been a barbecue guy all my life. I've been into barbecue. I've been interested. I've enjoyed cooking in the backyard. If the mission is to share, the passion of barbecue, I didn't even hear about KCBS until I entered my first contest. And maybe that's not a big deal, but I think that's a whole market out there of just the backyard cook. I think that segment is growing, and I think competition is dying. And if they really want to continue with spreading barbecue, they need to address that whole part of the segment, the backyard cook, I'm not saying to ignore the competition teams, but, understand your audience, understand where the potential is, and address it. And I think Emily will do a good job.
I agree with a lot of what all you guys have said. My take on it is there seems to be a lot of backbiting and infighting among the governing body of the KCBS. People are elected office, then all of a sudden they resign. They don't fulfill their 3-year, whatever it is. Some of them do, some of them don't. The competition thing and the membership thing, I think, go hand in hand. And Doug, I agree with you. I don't know why you can cook a KCBS sanctioned event and not be a member. I think being a member, I think you have to be a member first. I mean, a full-fledged member, not a member for a day. You gotta, because it's only $45 a year. It's not an expensive endeavor to be a member of the KCBS. But I think what I would like to see them do is, David, and John and Doug, when we go on YouTube and we watch barbecue videos and we listen to barbecue podcasts and we listen and we watch. The one thing that's missing to me is a KCBS sponsored show, a KCBS sponsored YouTube channel. And if it's out there, I've missed it. I think what KCBS should do and maybe look at is splitting, taking the KCBS and splitting it in two. And you have one side is competition and it's office collections, billing, and that sort of thing. And take the competition separate and give all the competitors, people that want to compete, as much time, energy, information as you can, and keep it with them, because the guy out here cooking on a big green egg on the weekends, he could care less. You see what I'm saying? He doesn't care about competition barbecue. Doesn't interest him one bit. And then what I say is take KCBS on the other side and be more user-friendly to the backyard cook, to people that don't want to compete but are striving and want information. Why can't KCBS, and I'll throw this out as the next question, can KCBS be an information, barbecue information, technical information, cooking, can it be an avenue to the backyard cooker, John Solberg?
I don't believe it can. I mean, the market is saturated with that now. I mean, so it's not their focus. It's different. It's two totally different genres. We all would agree that competition barbecue is nothing like the backyard.
Right.
So you're talking about building something from the ground up for them. It's something that's, I would say, it's not in their wheelhouse.
David, what do you think about that?
It might be difficult, but it might be what they need to adapt to survive. If competition continues to shrink and go down as the expenses go up, I think cooks become, if you're a barbecue cook and you've got YouTube and a way to get your sauces and promote things in other markets, why do you need to go out and cook competitions? Why do you need to pay a membership to be in KCBS? They need to do something to boost their membership. As a backyard cook, what do I have to get a membership into KCBS? I get the bullshit every once in a while, and what else do I get out of it? If you give me something like what you're talking about, Steve, give me access to, KCBS sponsored cooks that share their secrets, almost like the master class, or give me access to information that you've acquired over the years, maybe even, I don't know about voting in the Barbecue Hall of Fame, give me something that my membership gives me that's of value, rather than, hey, if you want to compete in this contest, you got to buy a membership for a year. Like Doug said, that's a great idea too, but give me something in return for, maybe it's not a lot of money, but it's money. Give me something in return as the backyard guy.
Well, that's what they would have to do. They would have to have some sort of a value-added reason for you to join. Doug, Can you see them splitting off and splitting up?
Actually, I don't think that, maybe they need to do it internally. And maybe it is that where you've got the judges on one side and then, the contestant competition type members on the other, because it's really two competing type agendas. When I looked at the 990, I was surprised that the membership dues are actually the third largest revenue stream. The largest revenue stream is the barbecue competition fees. I thought they had so many judges that it would be reversed. And the second largest, to your point, in terms of your question, is the newsletter printing is the second largest revenue category. And if they can, they've got a lot of this newsletter material, maybe they could have an online or digital format, YouTube format, et cetera, to start doing more informational type things with the newsletter and maybe, kind of transition to that. Although the profitability on the newsletter is very, very, very high. But I think the judges far outnumber what they have, like 20,000 judges or something like that. I think that far outnumbers the number of competitors. They need to get some state competition to do it right, and they need to partner up with some organization if they don't, take them over. So, because basically a lot of the competitors are going that way, in my opinion.
Well, I don't think they can stop. I don't think it's their fault that. Let me back up. Number one, I don't think they could continue the growth that they had during the barbecue pitmaster phenomenon that fueled the fire for people like myself that got me interested in barbecue. I'm one of the few, I think, that stayed with it. A lot of people have dropped away from it. I've chose to stay with them and to compete as often as I can. But why not have a forum? And I'm not talking about, David, and John, you said that, the market's already saturated. Well, it may be saturated, but there's people coming into it all the time. They're entering it because I know I want to see fresh faces. I want to see new ideas like the pizza thing that I've come across. That's a new idea that I'm interested in. And then you got a guy like Matt Frampton, who's a barbecue guy, and he's doing that. That interests me. Why not have online classes from KCBS? And they were, and what I saw this week, and I'm sure you guys got it on email as well, is they were offering a $50 off coupon to there's one of these masterclass circuits going on out there. Did you guys see that, the $50 off thing?
Yes.
Yeah, I saw it.
Okay, that's, throw me a bone, I know. But at least that's something that I haven't seen in a long, long time from them. I think if you take a group of people, and I'm not talking about the competition guys, they're great. They're fantastic at what they do. They're great cooks, whether they're in the backyard or if they're in a trailer. But Joe Schmo over here in Little Rock, Arkansas, with his big green egg, he doesn't want to cook a pork butt in 45 minutes. He doesn't want to whittle his pork butt down to 4.1 pounds exactly and get it knocked out in an hour. He wants to cook a 15 pound pork butt, and he wants to take it all day, and he wants to make it the best pork butt that he can. And so, David, why not take a person like yourself that is vested in the video? Doug, you do great videos. Somebody like yourselves that are members, why can't KCBS use you guys and have a YouTube channel or distribute information to the members and try? I think they're missing an untapped source of membership, and I think that's the backyard cooker. David, what do you think about going after that market?
Let John comment. I want to hear what he has to say. That's okay.
Because there's no market there. Doesn't exist. What's the revenue stream for KCBS, and what does making pizza have to do with propagating the legacy of barbecue? Not much. I don't see a revenue stream. You're comparing apples to cinder blocks. They're not the same. It's two totally different business models, isn't it?
No, I don't think so. I think if you gave a person a reason to join an organization. If you could contact them and say, John Solberg, you like to build pits. We've got a pit building video. We've got experts on staff. We would like to share ideas. We want you to be a member, to be part of it. And I believe that there's a market for that. Not pit build. I'm just using you as the example. But I think there's a group of people out there that don't know about it and would spend the $45 a year at least once to try to find expertise in what they're doing. David, what do you think?
So potentially, I think their biggest opportunity is with the general public at the contests. When they have contests, they've got cooks that are tucked away trying to meet tight time frames. They're cooking to a very specific way of doing the protein. It's taking a lot of creativity out. I mean, there's tenderness and there's different flavor profiles, but most people are turning in baby backs or spares. Most people are turning in chicken thighs. It's very limited to creativity in the general public. I mean, barbecue pitmasters, why did that grow popularity of barbecue so much? It gave you more of a behind the scenes look at what actually goes on with these people at competitions. If the public was more open to that, I mean, people may even buy tickets to go to a competition if there was something more for them to do than walk around, look at the pits, not really get to see any of the cooking that's going on. And I know the ones that I've been to, the only barbecue they can get other than standing in line for hours for taster kits is, a paid barbecue joint, like a concession stand. I think if they would engage the public more and make people say, man, $45 to give me access to more of this information, I don't know, maybe it would work. I don't know the answers. I think they face a lot of challenges.
Well, I know the old saying is you don't create a market, you have to serve a market. But Doug, what do you think about them going after a different group? And, we always get back to competitions. When we talk about KCBS, we'll talk about backyard, and then boom, like David just did, the problem with the competitions. We always go to competitions, and Doug, I think they can be so much more than just a competition sanctioning body. They either need to do that and nothing else, or they need to split off, I think, and do that separately, but go after another market, Doug.
Well, I mean, I hear you, but when I looked at their revenue, comp fees are their number one. A third of their total revenue is from comp fees. And, if you add in probably the membership dues, which is made up of judges and comp fees, that's kind of related and the same. And then they got the newsletter. I mean, you total up all of those, and that's about 80% of all their revenue. So they're really, focused on that. I would like to go on David's point. I was at Bozeman, Montana this weekend, and this was a KCBS event. It's called the Pitmaster Classic, and shout out to Montana Outlaw for having a hat trick and getting a third year grand championship at that event. But anyway, on Friday night, and I'm not sure if KCBS profited in this or not, but they the event sold chips that you could buy food from the teams from 4 to 8 on Friday night, and you could buy food from them that they were serving. You could partake in it or you could not. And so they actually the teams actually got some money back from that. It was split with the event, and it was a fundraiser type thing. But that might be something where it alleviates some of the cost. It's a little bit of a competition because the team that got the most money or the most chips got an award and things like that. So this could be an additional money revenue generation.
Well, it sounds a lot better than just a People's Choice.
Oh, absolutely. Because to David's point, the public was involved. We had 1,000 or two people. We served over 2,000 samples that night, and we were just giving small bites. Mm-hmm. And the other teams were giving the teams were actually giving sliders and things like that. So it was packed wall to wall. That's one of the things that drives me nuts about the American Royal. Sunday, the day of the Open, when there's 400 to 600 teams, it's a ghost town. There's no public at all.
Are they not allowed in?
No, they're allowed in. There's just nothing for them to do.
Yeah, there's no value for them to show up.
Oh, it's dead. It's no energy at all.
That's strange.
Yeah.
I wonder why they do that. Hey, hold that thought. We're going to take a real quick break. We're going to do get yourself a refresh on the liquid. Let me find my cursor here. And we are going to do this just real quick. There it is. Hang on just a second.
Take your time, Steve. We're here for you.
I appreciate that. This part of the show brought to you by BBQ Guru. Let me take a few minutes to talk about the longest sponsor of the show, located in Warminster, Pennsylvania, the BBQ Guru. Gang, if you've been thinking about automatic pit temperature control devices for your cookers, then stop here. That is the company that started it all. They are the creators of this technology. Why would you buy one from any other company? Not familiar with how these little things work, I'm not going to go into the minute details, but imagine a product that allows you to set your pit temperature, and once set, it keeps running at the same temperature all the way through the cook. Does that sound too good to be true? Well, it's not. It's available today, and it is called the BBQ Guru. In the market for a cooker, look no further than the BBQ Guru Monolith. It's a ceramic unit. It has a built-in power draft fan, so you can hook up your current BBQ Guru controller, and away you go. Do yourself a favor. Head over to the BBQGuru.com and check out their great products. And folks, I can personally attest they have the greatest customer service that you could ask for. Also, are you signed up for the Smoking with Smithfield Barbecue Championship? Registration's free, so sign up today. It's smokingwithsmithfield.com for all of the details. And we're going to get right back with the embedded correspondence here. Let me find the right button here. There it goes. And just like magic, there they are. David Huff from Oklahoma, Doug Scheiding from Texas, John Solberg from Michigan. All right, fellas, we've solved the barbecue KCBS dilemma. I think we did it in fine fashion. John Solberg, let's move on to the next subject. I want you to start us off. Podcasts and or barbecue videos and or barbecue celebrities that you listen to. Who are your go-to guys?
Barbecue podcasts. My go-tos are the Grilling Guys. They're a local radio affiliated podcast up here in the Great Lakes State. Cooking with Fire, Josh Carey and Chef Tom Jackson. That's another podcast that I go after. And the Barbecue Nation with Jeff Tracy. All those are radio affiliated podcasts that I tend to enjoy the most.
Now, are they on terrestrial radio?
They are as well, but then they're podcasted as well. So,
and you've got all three of those up in Michigan?
It's on the internet. You can get it anywhere, Steve. It comes on computers now. just the internet. That old thing.
That .com. HTTP little dash www.
But those meatheads in the house.
Yeah. Well. John, what about who about video guys? YouTubers, things like that.
I like videos that do things unique. So I tend to gravitate toward Kanger and Barbecue Food for You. White Thunder is another good one because unique stuff. I enjoy seeing something different. And my third go-to, and I don't watch it regularly, but I'll look it up, is I'll go to Malcolm Reed and find something if I want to see it. It's kind of like the research project. If you're going to do a project, go look it up. Malcolm's probably got it. So, but those are my choices. I go for the uniqueness of, I don't want to see the same. I don't need to see another set of baby back ribs. It's not my, I can do baby back ribs. Yeah, so I like that unique stuff.
You know, it's amazing. All the YouTube people out there, every time you watch them, a lot of them will say, I'm going to do ribs the way Malcolm Reed did it on his video last week. they just keep redoing everything that Malcolm Reed does. They redo it just like Malcolm did it. Doug Scheiding, who are your go-to guys?
Well, other than our show that we participate in, it's not too many. I listened to the 52 Weeks of Barbecue when the local San Antonio Express food writers were going to different barbecue joints. When Stover was on the Best Barbecue Show, I actually used to listen to that some. Tales of the Pit, infrequently when that was on, and then Bullhorn Barbecue, or I think it's renamed as So Smokin' Gooder Show by Rob Arocha. Occasionally I'll listen to those. So actually I listen to other podcasts a lot more. Do you want to hear the other podcasts, or that's later?
I can't wait. Go ahead.
Okay. Go ahead and go now.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, I actually had a podcast called Biz Broker Talk. It was for 13 episodes, and people that do podcasts on a weekly basis, I'm always impressed with, because that was kind of a pain in the butt, and I actually it was dragging on as well. But in terms of podcasts that I listen to, I listen to the more series, other than like Bon Appetit and Alton Browncast. I listen to Alton Browncast religiously when they were actually posting things regularly. But I listen to things like Serial, where Adnan was, the murderer, and kind of a journalistic investigation. They tried to get him a new trial, and then it was overturned in Maryland. Another one that's very similar to that and related is called Shit Town, and the main character is called John. That's actually a very good one. And then there's another one called Dr. Death. So like when we're on long trips, where we're driving across Texas, or going somewhere 6-8 hours, we'll listen to those series on podcasts, my wife and I. So,
David Huff, I know you've got quite a selection.
Yeah, when it comes to podcasts, this is really the only barbecue related podcast that I listen to. I just prefer to see a lot of things on YouTube because I like to see the food. I like to see the visuals. And Greg's really the only one that gets, the guests for audio and education. So I don't listen to a lot of other podcasts. As far as YouTube goes with barbecue, All Things Barbecue with Chef Tom. It's out of Wichita, Kansas, and he does a great job. I think the key to good YouTube is to balance education and entertaining. You can get carried away with trying to make people laugh and have fun and lose the focus of cooking good food. You can also cook food in a really good way, but you can be fairly boring. And I think, people like Sam, the cooking guy, and Malcolm Reed do a good job with that. I think All Things Barbecue and Chef Tom does a good job as well. Pitmaster X is another guy that I listen to. A little hard to understand. He has a real thick, I can't tell if it's New Zealand or Australian accent. But John, you mentioned you want to see guys cooking big prime rib racks in butter or something different other than just another rack of rib or a burger. That's one of the things I'm trying to get involved in with my YouTube channel. I'm planning for my next video to do a smoked filet. I'm going to smoke it until it gets just about where I want it, pound it thin, and then chicken fry it and see how that turns out. Ooh, something just unique and different. And then as far as other topics, Doug, you nailed a lot of the ones that I listen to. This American Life is a company that does S-Town and Serial. I listen to anything that they put out. Wondery is the one who does Dr. Death, and there's actually a new one, Over My Dead Body by Wondery. And the story is about a really bizarre actual story that happened with a guy in Oklahoma who owned a wild animal farm. And he was rivals with somebody who was basically trying to save the wild animals and thought that he was bad with it. And he ran for, I think it was governor of Oklahoma or mayor or something, and lost, and then was indicted for murder for hire to try to kill his rival. It is just about as bizarre a story as you can get. I just like that true crime stuff. And then, of course, during football season, I have a lot of fantasy football podcasts I listen to, the Football Guys and Fantasy Footballers. And then a cigar-related one is called the Ash Holes, and it's fairly entertaining as well. So
you and Doug are into true crime. John, are you into any of the true crime, the murder mystery sort of things?
No, Ain't nobody got time for that.
that would not.
I do a lot of driving in my car. I travel.
Yeah, when you're driving.
I guess.
Yeah, when you're driving, it's perfect.
I guess it's
I understand.
I guess it's a lifestyle difference because I'm in the car literally 7 minutes a day, and that's it. I live 3 miles from work.
In defense of myself, I produce a weekly podcast, which I have to review Barbecue Central shows. The majority of my podcast time is listening to past episodes of the Barbecue Central show. So all of my windshield time is reviewing shows to pull my own podcast. So that's pretty much what occupies most of my podcasting time.
Well, my favorite, and I'm not just saying that because, John, you're here, but I really enjoy the best 10 minutes of the Barbecue Central show. That's my number one go-to. When I'm mowing grass, I get my phone that has the internet on it, and I know how to use it, believe it or not. And I listen to you guys, and the ones you pull off of there, they're always funny, they're always relative, and they are so entertaining. That's when you're mowing grass or doing yard work and you're listening to the radio. That's what you want to be, is entertained. And that's really the only radio podcast I will listen to. I will scroll through. And I'm kind of a podcast snob in the fact, fellas, that, you know, if I see somebody that's interviewing Daniel Vaughn, I'll stop and listen to him because I don't want to hear particularly them, but I do want to hear Daniel Vaughn or David Jess Prowls. I listened to one with her on there the other day, and it was funny. She said she was telling a story about somebody was asking, I forgot who it was. He was asking her about the food business. And she said that she's disappointed that, let's see, how did she put it? That the food business was so over the top promoting or glorifying food or making it such an entertainment thing that the food business has become. And I'm thinking, that's what you do. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's your whole reason for existence, is entertaining with food. So you get a lot of that when you hear these podcasts. But my favorite thing is to listen and watch on YouTube or Facebook or whatever are these small local video podcasts, like the one I do on Wednesdays. I like to watch the guys from the Atlanta Barbecue Store. They do one on Sundays and Monday nights. Theirs is really good. They've always got some information. They're a little heavy on the competition side, but they're very interesting. And of course, as far as my go-to guy, I'm like you, John, Malcolm Reed. If I want to know how it's done, I don't even consider going anywhere else except Malcolm Reed. And I guess that's probably everybody on our panel. At once in your life, I know you've gone to Malcolm Reed to see how he does it. And there's one more, and I want to tell you all about this because I want y'all to watch this guy. It's called Just Piddlin'. It's called the Just Piddlin' Barbecue Show. It's on Wednesday nights. I think he starts at 8. But he's also got a show on Saturday mornings at 7 that he does live. This guy's name is Sandy Smith. He's a former Marine. He's a former football coach, and he teaches school now. And this guy can cook. Now he's not a turkey. He knows his way. He's a big Traeger guy, Doug. He knows you.
He does.
Yes, he knows you. You're one of his heroes.
Okay.
You have been in the same room with him at some event, and he thinks the world of you. And he loves Traeger. But this guy, Sandy Smith of Just Piddlin', and do yourself a favor, if you get up early Sunday, you don't have anything to do, click on YouTube, go to Just Piddlin'. This guy bears his soul on his video broadcast. He'll talk about food a little bit, but he'll talk about his life. He'll talk about his profession. He's kind of in a spot now where he's teaching. He's not really enjoying it anymore because he's not coaching, and he's wanting to get into the barbecue business of repping or whatever. But it's one of those things that you watch it for a little bit and you think, well, this isn't very entertaining. But then he'll start talking, and then you say, you know what? I know a guy like that, down the street, or he's thinking the same thing that I'm thinking. And it's those little shows like that. It's almost like the little AM call-in talk shows on Sunday mornings. Write it down. Just Piddling. He's on Wednesday nights at 8 Eastern Standard, and then he's on live at 7 o'clock. And he does it from his pool. It's real cool. And on his YouTube channel, he'll post videos. He'll do cooks, and he's pretty talented. And he did the other day. He did some frog legs, David and John. If you're thinking you want something different, this guy does a lot of different stuff. But those are the kind of things that I like to listen to. It's not the slick produced podcast that you see all the time. It's these little guys in these little communities that literally have a camera, they've got a laptop, and they've got access to YouTube, and they say, let's have a show. And they become guys like T-Roy, who's one of the most popular guys out there. He's very entertaining to me as well. T-Roy Cooks. He's a hoot. David, did you ever see the video I told you about where the guy did a spoof?
I know that we kind of joked at T-Roy. The first time you see him, he's hard to take because he just seems so good old boy. And, most of his videos he's showing you are the first time he's ever tried it.
Yeah.
I can't do that. I got to know that what I'm showing people is going to work out. But after watching him a while, he puts out some pretty good stuff. And he does a good job of being on the line of entertaining as well as educational. And
he does a live broadcast as well too sometimes. Yeah. And those are, once you get past the, he welcomes everybody that's on there, and I think that's kind of boring. But he's got a great following, and I enjoy watching him. So that's kind of things that I enjoy. All right, the last thing, and I'm going to pop this on you guys. David, when was the first time you heard about Greg Rempe and the BBQ Central show?
So that would have been right after the first time that I went to a competition. And this is a good chance for me to tell you, Steve, I loved the story that you introed the show with, because I would not be sitting here with you fine gentlemen today if that exact same thing had not happened to me. Started a barbecue, my very first competition with the pellet smoker. Some guys came over and gave me a hard time because you shouldn't be cooking on it if you didn't build it, or, you don't need electricity. And these two guys pulled me aside and said, hey man, it's just about cooking. You have fun. Come on over. We'll share information with you. And they just, that camaraderie is what got me started. And once I started that, I started looking into how do I learn more about barbecue competition, etc. And that's what led me to the BBQ Central show. And it was actually the guys that showed me the ropes became good friends. They won a couple of grand champions back to back. And I called and asked Greg, I sent him an email and asked him if he wanted to have them on the show for an interview. And it wasn't too long after that he asked me if I wanted to be the Oklahoma correspondent. So kind of all tied together.
John, how did you hear about Greg, and how did you meet him? Because you're probably his closest confidant as far as in business.
That's we work together regularly, and I wish I could tell you it was like Kennedy in the grassy knoll or landed on the moon, but I can't quite pin it down to those things. I'm guessing it was probably around 2013 when I first found the show, and then really started getting into it in 2014-ish, and just there's a lot of stuff there. You can't listen to a Barbecue Central show and not learn something. If you're not learning something in 2 hours, you're not paying attention. The amount of information I've gotten from the Barbecue Central show on cooking and barbecue is phenomenal. So it just kind of, started to get into it, went through and watched all the outdoor cooking channel archives so I could see the video, and just kind of has grown up over the years. So,
John,
but the exact day, don't know.
I think I heard you the first time you were ever on his show. You did a segment on making charcoal, didn't you?
I did. I
remember that.
I made lump charcoal and put it on my Instagram, and Greg saw that and reached out and asked me to come on the show and talk about that.
And then from there, how did you hook up? As now you're producing the 10 best minutes of the Barbecue Central show. How did y'all hook up on that?
The best moments of the Barbecue Central show in 10 minutes or less.
Okay.
Which airs each Friday, by the way.
I've got a sticker on my car.
He's an avid listener.
It's very hard to say. I will say that title is very hard to say.
Yes, it is.
I don't really know how it developed. I always gave Greg feedback as a listener, constructive, or, I sent him an email and say what I like, what I didn't like, in a positive way. I had been involved in podcasting, back in 2011. It wasn't successful. I had the gear. I had the interest in recording. So just over time, it just developed. And Greg said, hey, I got this idea. I've always wanted to do it. He actually had some samples. And he said, you want to take this on? I said, yeah, I'd love to. I mean, it's like, I feel like Ansel Adams. And if you don't know who Ansel Adams is, he's one of the greatest landscape photographers of all time. And while he was a great photographer, it was beautiful scenery. You can't really screw it up. So my job is easy. I have the best scenery in the world. I just have a hard time picking 10 minutes out. So I got the greatest gig in all of barbecue.
Doug, how did you get hooked up with Greg?
Well, I'm remiss if I don't give John a shout out on the podcast. If I missed the Tuesday show, I actually download yours first on the weekend, John, and listen to that first, because the 20 seconds, 20 minutes. So I do love that. And what are you on, episode 86 or 88 now, or what's coming out this week?
Oh, actually, my brain is working on 90.
Okay, so 90.
I'll bring that up for you. But
okay, all right.
We're at 80.
On YouTube, I only watch 2 YouTubes. I watch Sam the Cooking Guy pretty religiously. I don't like watching videos on my computer. My computer is a work device, and I don't like mixing the pleasure and passion of barbecue with my work device. And so I watch it on my phone. And then Huff Daddy Barbecue. Shout out to David on that. Those are the only 2 that I listen to.
You don't watch Malcolm?
The check's in the mail, Doug. Thank you.
You don't watch Malcolm Reed?
No, I listen to Malcolm. Okay, so going back to your original question in terms of how I got hooked up with Greg, my first competition was in September of 2009, and so I'm the kind of guy. It was in the summer, and we had probably a couple, 2-3 months to lead up to it. So being the engineer, I like to research and do a lot of things. So at that time, there were hardly any podcasts. So when I started, Googling and researching podcasts, there were a couple that I listened to. And then I got on with Greg, and so it's kind of his metal music, and the what was his name, the guitar guy, and the different things. So then I latched onto, and I think I've got several of the roundtables from 2008 with Fast Eddie Morin and stuff like that. So I listened to those, and I listened to those 3 and 4 times, each one of them, because I was researching in terms of how to do each of the different competition meets. And so to me, that actually took me from 0 to 55 miles an hour by just listening to those and then using some of those techniques in my cooking. And then in our first competition in September of 2009, a partner and I, Clint and I, we actually wound up getting second in brisket, second in ribs, got a belt buckle, and third in brisket, got a belt buckle, and we finished third overall, beat all 3 barbecue teams, and there were like 60 teams at that event. So we were hooked at that point. And so I just started delving in, and the Barbecue Central show was my main source of research, in addition to books like Adam Perry Lang and some of those, the barbecue Bibles and things like that. But from a podcast standpoint, that's when I started learning about barbecue, is really delving into the show.
Greg, I was saying, David, I was a lot like you. After I started competing, I started looking around the internet when I figured out how to use it, and I was looking at the different things, Googling this, that, and I was looking for a radio. I was looking for a radio station actually that had a barbecue show on it, and of course I Googled barbecue radio, and Greg's show was called the Barbecue Central Radio Show back then. It popped up. And then I sat there and I was listening, waiting for it to come on, and the way he's got that, when he comes on the show, it doesn't come on. I'm thinking, well, when's this guy going to come on? When's this guy going to come on? And then all of a sudden, he pops in there and he starts talking, and I'm watching this, and I'm thinking it's going to be like something I put together, rickety at best, entertaining at worst, and I could not believe the quality of the show he did when I started watching 5 years ago. And I mean it, folks. Greg, he worries. He wrings his hands over this show. And to bring you and me, Doug, John, and David, and everybody that watches and or listens to him, the best product, the best produced product that you could possibly have. And I'll say this, fellas, and I think y'all will agree with me. There's nobody else out there, nobody, that puts on a presentation the way Greg Rempe does. And I wrote him an email, David. I'm like you. I sent him an email saying, after I watched it 2 or 3 weeks, I said, you are really good at this. And I just wanted to say, I appreciate your professionalism. And he emailed me back and thanked me. And from that very day, we always had a back and forth. I'm like you, Doug, or John, I'd write him a little email, said, hey, that was good. That was a really good segment, good job. And it just became this, online friendship. I feel kind of like that linebacker for Notre Dame that had the online girlfriend. Remember him a couple years ago that he never really met her.
The imaginary one.
He never. She wasn't imaginary. She was just online, and he never really met her, but it was his girlfriend. So I feel like Greg, I could do about you guys. You're my buddies, and Doug, you're the only one I've ever met in person. But what Greg does for us and for people at home is absolutely phenomenal. And if you appreciate a well-produced show, not like I'm doing this one, but the way Greg does it week after week after week, drop him an email and tell him that you appreciate it. And if you have a suggestion, he'll take it. And but if you got a kudos, he'll take that too. Fellas, thank you so much. I appreciate your time. I appreciate the energy. And I sure appreciate the opinions. And maybe we'll get that KCBS thing figured out before too long.
Steve, thanks so much for stepping in. You're filling pretty big shoes, and you're doing a fantastic job. So, for you, Steve,
I appreciate
congratulations.
That. John Solberg from Michigan, Doug Schotting from Texas, and David Huff from the great state of Oklahoma, the Embedded Correspondents. Ooh, just like that. Isn't that cool? Greg is the one that showed me how this thing worked, matter of fact. And I just think it is so cool. All right, let's do this. We've got to read some ads real quick. And these are important because these are the guys that make all of this possible. We're going to do it right now. Let me get to my music selection real quick. Should have had this queued up, but that's okay. Southside Market and Barbecue, business to consumer. Attention, anyone who loves sausage and barbecue. Established in 1882. Yeah, they've been around a while. Southside is the oldest barbecue joint in Texas and has been owned and operated by the same family for 3 generations. They ship their products nationwide via their online store, SouthsideMarket.com. Go there and order and use the BBQ Central code to get 10% off. That's BBQ Central for 10% off your entire order. That's the Southside Market and Barbecue. And if you're a retailer, you can, or a person that sells stuff at your store, you can call them and they'll package their product with your labels on it so you can get it shipped in. And I could say, like at Al's Nest Barbecue, I could say, yes, this is Al's Nest Barbecue sausage, and you could sell it to people. And that would be a great thing to do. Also, a portion of the show brought to you by Veterans Q. They currently have 2 sauces, original and sweet heat, and 2 rubs, chicken and pork beef, all on the market right now. And all the products are great. Greg has them in his possession. He has tasted them. And also 100% of the profits are donated to credible veteran organizations, and you just can't beat that. Say you want to try Veterans Q, but you want 20% off, we got you covered. Barbecue 20. BBQ 20 is the code to use to get 20% off Veterans Q. Go to veteransq.com. Also, Green Mountain Grill is bringing you this part of the Barbecue Central show. Stay with me, folks. These are important. 2 lines to choose from, the Classic and the Prime lines. Both have similar sizes, the Jim Bowies and the Daniel Boone. But if you want to save a few thin gilders, then the Classic line is for you. Green Mountain Grills, one of the longest running sponsors on the Barbecue Central show. Green Mountain Grills, great pellet grill technology in every product that they make. No internet sales. They all sell their products through a dealer network. Each dealer is trained in how to use Green Mountain Grills, and they can show you how to use yours too. And finally, the Smoke Sheet is a free weekly newsletter that keeps you in the know on everything happening in the barbecue world, including top news. Hang on. There we are. Including top news, events, recipes, and more. It was started by Ryan Cooper, a.k.a. Barbecue Tourist, and Sean Ludwig, a.k.a. New York City Barbecue. And both of them travel around the country to find the best barbecue, and then they report on it. It's a free newsletter. The Smoke Sheet, a free weekly newsletter. You can sign up for the newsletter and see the full events on their barbecue calendar at barbecuenewsletter.com. Go sign up today. barbecuenewsletter.com. They have a great all-in-one resource covering the live fire industry. Folks, I appreciate you so much for joining us. Top of the hour, we had Matt Frampton from Hot Grill on Grill Action and one of the nation's renowned pizza chefs. And Matt gave us a ton of information on pizza, the pizza itself, there it is, the pizza itself, and the vessels that you use to cook it, and the dough, how you make it, all kinds of good information from Matt Frampton. Go to his website, barbecuerevolution.com. In the second part of the first hour, we had the master of Q herself, Leanne Whippen, so gracious to join us and tell us about the barbecue brawl Flay versus Simon finale that she won, beating Susie Bullock, who is also a great competitor and a great TV personality in her own right. And we just finished up with the Embedded Correspondents, and that was a pretty cool conversation about KCBS, about our favorite podcast, our favorite video cast, and how we met our buddy Greg Rempe. Stay tuned next Tuesday right here on the Barbecue Central channel on YouTube and the Barbecue Central channel on Facebook. Greg will be back with a vast array of guests for your viewing pleasure. Don't miss it. Thanks for watching the Barbecue Central show. And next Tuesday, we'll do it live one more time.